my name is Tabby. Welcome back to my channel, Keeping Tabs. This is my top 10 favorite books of 2018. So, before I get into the top 10, I have 3 honorable mentions that were on the list but then just got pushed off by the end of me making the 10 lists. So, these are the 3 mentions. Also, none of these are 2018 new releases, except for one, which is one of the honorable mentions. I'm just not good at reading and keeping up with new releases. It's just not a thing that you'll find here, okay? So, cool. First honorable mention is The Kiss of Deception, which I read back in April, whatever. It came out in 2014, so I'm pretty late on this ride, but I enjoyed myself so much. It's about this princess who is about to get married to, it's an arranged marriage, and she's not down, so she escapes, and then the prince that she was supposed to marry goes after her, and an assassin from another enemy kingdom goes after her, and they both find her, and she starts to like have feelings and gets to know both of them, except we don't know which one is the assassin and which one is the prince, so we're like, oh my gosh, who is who wants to kill her, who wants to marry her? We don't know. It's fun. My second honorable mention is Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I almost forgot the name. This is the first book in the Fallen Kingdoms series, and it's about these 3, not warring kingdoms, but just kingdoms that aren't friends. And one is rich, one is kind of in the middle, and one is dirt poor. And so, yeah. This is actually so hard to summarize, I'm now realizing. There's lots of politics, there's lots of deceiving, there's lots of violence, which was great. And people say that this is like the YA version of Game of Thrones. Yeah, perfect for fans of Game of Thrones. And I'd say that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, if you read Game of Thrones and then read this one, you'd know that's a bit of a stretch. There is political intrigue, and there is a lot of different POVs, and it is fast-paced and non-stop, but it is not like Game of Thrones, so just don't have that in your mind. This made it onto my honorable mentions because it was really fast-paced, so much fun to read, so action-packed, lots of death, but it's not like the best YA book out there. You know, it didn't have any like amazing prose or wonderful quotes that I'd tattoo on my body, so it's just an honorable mention. It was just super fun. The third honorable mention that nobody's gonna have on their 2018 best books of 2018. I have here A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I loved this novella. It was great. It was perfect, and everything I wanted. And I'm so glad that I enjoyed it because I was watching and reading a lot of reviews and people were saying that it's garbage and useless and there's no story and blah blah blah. And for a while those reviews made me not want to read it, but then I just took it out of my library one day, read it, loved it, and I'm glad. I am so glad that I ended up reading it. So this is on the honorable mentions. Honorable because like it's a novella, so yeah. Okay. Crap, I did it the So I have my pile of books here, and usually I go from 1 to 10, and I put number 1 at the bottom so that I'm going, you know, off the pile 10, 9, 8. But I did it from, I just rearranged the pile wrong, so now I have to, just give me a second. Okay, let's begin. At number 10, we have Calibans War by James S.A. Corey, book 2 in the Expanse series. This was so fun. It wasn't as action-packed as Leviathan Wakes, but it was very emotional because there's a child that has been kidnapped and the dad is trying to find her, and it's like intense. A whole planet gets destroyed. It's a great time. We are still back with our crew on the Rocinante. I can never say it. The Rossi. I'm just gonna say the Rossi. That's what they call it, so I'm calling it the Rossi. We also get introduced to 2 female characters. Well, we get introduced to 1 female character. The other female character was in the first book, but we didn't get a lot of her. But she is this old, wrinkly, white-haired Indian woman, and she is so funny. She is hilarious. She is constantly swearing. Every sentence she says has some kind of cuss word, and it's wonderful. And I started watching the show, and they had to take that swearing out, which really just sucks a lot because that is her. And it's hilarious because I'm picturing this wrinkly old Indian woman with this heavy accent, and I listened to some of it on audiobook. Oh, and the narrator just did it so great. It's great. And the other female character is kind of reminds me of Brienne of Tarth, She's this big, strong soldier woman who went through a traumatic experience and she has PTSD, and so we're following her as well, and it's just a great story. It's a great book and you should read Leviathan Wakes, where it all started. I did not mean to talk for that long about that book. Sorry. Is that number 10? Yeah, that's number 10. Where's my list? At number 9 we have Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. It's my mass market paperback. It's so cute. I just love mass market. Anyways, this is a new author to me from 2018 and it was really good. It takes place in a forest and it has like treehouse fantasy. So everybody lives in trees and tree houses, and they move around via zip lines and bridges, and it's so cool. The world building is so atmospheric and wonderful. That's just the world building that I love, but the actual plot is so much more. There's these spirits that kind of keep the kingdom in balance, and it's hard to explain. I'll try and do a book review for this, but it was really good and I recommend it. It's an adult fantasy, but it also follows their main character Delena from the age of 9 to 19 as she grows and develops her power. Good times all around. It also has, last thing I'll say about this, it has like a magical school, and I know lots of people love magical schools, so there's that. But it doesn't take place all in the magical school because, like I said, 9 to 19, only like a chunk of her life is in the school. Honestly, this book covers a lot of time, so you feel like you're in it for so long, but it's so short. So I think the author did a really good job making you feel like you're in this world for a long time, and not in a bad way, like where you wish it would end, but you get so much information and so much life and so much detail and growth in such a short book. So that was amazing. Queen of Blood, Sarah Beth Durst. Pick it up, folks. In at number 8 is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which I feel like I don't have to do any talking for this one because everybody knows what Throne of Glass is. I love this book. Kale is amazing. I love Kale so much. And that is that. The end. On to the next. At number 7 we have another science fiction book. It is YA science fiction. It is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and I did a full book talk and book review for this book, so I will leave it up there so I don't have to talk about it. But it was amazing, super fun. You should read it if you haven't already, but you probably have because it's really popular. In at number 6 we have Lover Eternal by J.R. Ward. This is the second book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood. I did a non-spoiler review for Dark Lover, which is book 1, and I'll leave it up there. But this book, oh man. This follows Rage, who is one of the vampire warriors of the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and it follows Mary, who is a cancer patient, and she is gonna die. This whole love story is super duper sad because she's terminally ill. She's gonna die. And so they fall in love, and it's really sad because Rage has this thing where if he gets really excited or really angry, he turns into this beast thing that just kills everybody around him. So the only way he can satisfy this beast is if he gets really violent or really I'm trying not to say these words because my mom and my niece are in the next room over, so you know, I don't want to like say things and like they're listening in and like, what kind of books is this girl reading? You know what I mean? But anyways, the only way to satisfy the beast is to be really violent, and like he does that by killing the vampire slayers, or by, yeah, I'll just put it on the screen and then you'll get it from there. Only because the walls are paper thin and, you know, embarrassment. Love this book. Either way, this book was so much more emotional than I ever expected. It was so much better than book 1. Book 1 was going to be on my list, but then I read this one and it knocked it out of the water. It is so good. Rage so far is my favorite brother, but I've heard a lot of good things about Vicious and Zadist, so can't wait. In my 5th spot, I have You by Caroline Kepnes, which I read on audiobook. The best audiobook I have ever listened to. The narrator was amazing and he really got into the character. At number 4, I have A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin, book 3 in the Song of Ice and Fire series. This was such a fun read. This was probably the most fun I had reading one of the books in the Song of Ice and Fire series, and I actually started to color code the tabs, and it was just a lot of fun. There's a lot of theory material in here, a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of great lines, and just awesome moments. This was the book where I started to really love John and really look forward to his parts, because in the first two books, Danny and John's POVs were just not my favorite, but now I'm starting to appreciate them more, especially John. I love John so much. He is precious. I also love Rob, which is jokes on me, right? But I love Rob so much. He is amazing, and I already loved him in the show, but in the book you only see him through Callan's eyes, and you see him as a son and as a kid, and you just want all of the best things for him. I think this is the longest book that I have ever read, ever. It is 1,128 mass market pages long. I don't know how long the hardcover is, but it's probably still in the thousands, so I'm so proud of myself for reading this big freaking brick. It was so much fun though. Okay, now we're in the top 3. I always knew what my number 1 book was, but all the others were really hard. Like the top 5 was really hard to figure out. But at number 3, I have Wind Witch by Susan Dennard, the second book in the Witchland series. The first book had some iffy world building, but the second book definitely makes up for that. You get so much more information about the magic system, and it's just great. We get introduced to a few more characters in this, and they are wonderful additions, and some of them are going to have POVs in Blood Witch, which is book 3, which I am so excited for. I know I've said it, but oh girl, I am so excited. And I have never wanted the power to control wind as much as I did when I was reading this book, because usually in like elemental magic books it's usually like fire, and usually fire is the coolest elemental magic, but in this book it makes me want to have wind powers, because Merrick is a wind witch and he does so many cool things with his wind witchery. I can't even. He just makes wind powers look so cool. If you haven't read these books yet, please go read them. They are amazing. They are so much fun. Number 2, my second favorite book of 2018 was The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 4th and final book of the Raven Cycle series, and the Raven Cycle series is one of my favorite series of all time. It is so well written and so just, it's so magical. I think this is a magical realism. I think that's what this would fall under, or maybe kind of fantasy-ish, but I like to say magical realism. I don't know. Let me know if you've read the series what genre this is. It's amazing though. The characters, you just fall in love with these characters so easily. The friend group is just goals. They all love each other and it's amazing. And the final book was, I think, the perfect ending. Some people said that it ended too quickly, or that it didn't make any sense, or this or that or whatever. So I was very like scared to read this final book because I didn't want it to ruin everything, but it didn't. This was probably the best book in the series. I just love it so much, and it made me want to reread everything all over again, and I cannot wait till I do. And coming in at number 1, my favorite book of 2018 was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Is anybody surprised? If you are, hi, I'm Tabby and you must be new here. But this is the second book in the Red Rising series. This was so action-packed and full of all kinds of emotion. It was funny, it was intense, there was so much betrayal. Just everything. Everything I want in a book is in this book, and I have no words. And this book has like traumatized me because I'm now afraid to pick up Morningstar, not because of like I'm afraid that characters are gonna die, or I'm afraid that this or that or the other is gonna happen. It's just because this book was so good that I'm not ready to move on from this book yet. Like, I'm still in my feels with this one, so I'm just not ready to open the pages of Morningstar yet, but I'm still riding this roller coaster even though I read it in June. I just love this series so much, and I want everybody to read this. So please, if you have the time, just put this, well, the first book, Red Rising, put it on your list, just bump it up to the top, no big deal. and read it because they're just so good. They're so good. I love violence. I love action. I love betrayal. And these books have them. And they also have like some of the nicer things that other people like. But I like the dark stuff and it's in here. So God bless. And that was my 2018 top 10 best books of 2018. Wow, I really messed that up. But yeah, get the gist. These were my favorite books of the year. Let me know if any of these books happen to make it onto your list, even though I feel like that's very rare because none of these are 2018 new releases. So I doubt they'll be on your list too. That is it, folks. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!